Right, so good nutrition is essential for good brain function in our children. We know this. Now, this morning we chat to our creative parenting expert, Nikki Bush, about how we can use food to help our children cope better in the classroom. Nikki, always lovely to hang out with you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
So off the bat, why do you feel that this is a talk-worthy topic?
Well, Ewan, our children are extremely busy, and being busy at school, sport, cultural activities after school takes up a huge amount of energy. And remember, they're not as big as us. Their tummies are a whole lot smaller. And that means that they need regular intake of good, nourishing food and fluid to keep them going, to give them the energy to expend on all these new learning activities, as well as growth, as well as repair and immunity. And it starts with us in the home.
Absolutely. So let's take an example here. What would you say are kind of the signs and symptoms of not good nutrition? If you take a look at some, maybe a kid that has not been fed the right kind of things and going about their day-to-day tasks.
So we see this a lot in schools today, that children are distracted, they're fidgety, they are irritable, and they're very, very sleepy and inattentive. So they don't have the energy to cope with concentration. And concentration is important. You know, once they get into primary school, they're needing to concentrate in the first year or two for 20 minutes at a time, and ultimately for 30 minutes at a time. That's a long time to stay focused. And in order to do that, we need to give them the reserves to draw from so that they can actually hold that focus and that attention.
And that's why it's so important to make sure that all the correct food groups are introduced. And this is something that I'm very passionate about. Even though my two youngsters, they're still very, very young, you know, so they put up quite a fight with some of the foods that we put in. But it is, at the end of the day, up to us parents to make sure or ensure it that we go about it the right way. So how do us parents do that? How do we make sure that they eat the right type of foods? And even if they are kicking up a bit of a fuss.
Well, it starts first with breakfast. You know, giving them something that kickstarts them for the day. Now, some children are breakfast eaters, some children aren't, adults are, adults aren't.
Yeah.
But you know, even if you can't get your children to sit down and eat breakfast, and one of the reasons why kids don't eat breakfast today is because families aren't sitting down eating together.
That's right.
And a lot of children need to eat on the run because we need to get them out of the house and to school on time. So you might need to have a packed breakfast, and even something like a protein shake, which has got all the right proteins, minerals, vitamins, and probiotics, is a great start to a child's busy day. And something that my husband used to do, which was really great fun, we called it flap your wings and fly. Okay. He used to make the kids, or the kids used to help him make almond fruit shakes. Yeah. So, you know, we have these wonderful blenders today, and you throw your fruit in and your almonds and your juice or your milk or your yogurt or whatever it is, and you blend it all together, and that's a really hearty meal. And the reason it was called Flap Your Wings and Fly is he used to make them stand on the ground and flap their wings. And then he used to make them go like this, and he used to pick them up and fly them around the kitchen like aeroplanes, and then land them right next to the food processor on the counter, and only then could they hit the start button and make this mush. So food became science, and I think really involving your kids in cooking, in preparing the meals, is a fabulous foundation for them to be invested in good eating.
Can I just say, I envisioned a little cookbook right there, a smoothie book. I think this is something you should consider. There's a beautiful backstory to that one, but we are going to be continuing and exploring more on this topic about good nutrition and your children.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. Now, this morning, Nikki Bush joins us in studio to talk about the importance of a healthy diet and how it affects your child's brain.
All right, we are back with our creative parenting expert, Nikki Bush, right here on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. And we continue with the topic of how eating the right type of foods can help your children cope better in the classroom. Nikki, once again, thank you. Welcome back. Very, very important topic, something that I'm passionate about as well, making sure that my kids eat healthy meals, because I know that it plays such a vital role. But what are some of the things that gets in the way of them eating healthy foods?
We don't sit down together and eat breakfast together anymore, Ewan. And there's a lot of fast foods on the run. So if you open a lot of school lunch boxes, which is the additional snack that comes after 2 hours when the breakfast has already been digested and now they need some more energy to focus for what comes on after first break or second break, often those lunch boxes are filled with high sugary drinks, high salt snacks, with lots of bad oils in them as well. So we need to look at what's going on in those lunch boxes too. So packing your children a nutritious lunchbox is very, very important, and teaching them how to drink water.
Yes, yes.
You know, the brain is made up of 80% water, and the first organ to dehydrate in the body is actually the brain. I'm sure you remember when you get very, very dehydrated, how irritable and ratty you become.
Well, even now.
So if you want children to be happier, make sure they drink enough water, and they need food that's going to sustain them. So, you know, whether it's chicken strips, biltong, nuts, dried fruits, fruit, cheese, eggs, you know, things that have got some substance to them versus a packet of chips, for example. And of course, kids are going to love to eat those things. Limit tuck shop. You know, tuck can be a once a week treat, so to speak.
Friday.
But not an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And teaching kids to eat good food that tastes good, you know, it's an acquired thing.
Yeah.
It happens over time.
It needs to happen, and I think, can I just say, I don't mean to gloat, but I've ticked the water drinking box with my kids. It's amazing. Whenever we go to friends for a braai maybe or so, they always ask for water, which is amazing. And we always take a water bottle with us wherever we go.
Well, here's a little tip. It's something that I've done for years in my home. I still do it today, even though my kids are not little. If you want to make water accessible, fill bottles, glass bottles or plastic bottles, and keep them in the fridge so that when somebody is thirsty, they know they can just run to the fridge and grab a bottle.
Yeah.
And you'll suddenly find they drink a whole lot more water because they don't have to get a glass, go to the tap, and pour it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've actually put on, you know, a big kind of container with water on my kitchen cupboard with the little valve, obviously, and that's a very exciting thing for them because they can operate it themselves. Exactly. So they go and pour themselves water. Nikki, I think it's great talking about this subject, but final words of advice for our viewers out there. How do we get it right? What needs to go into the planning?
A lot of it is planning, exactly what you've just said. Preparation is key. And I do this kind of preparation on a Sunday night for the week.
Yeah.
What's in your fridge? What's in your freezer? In fact, I have a book called Back to School Sanity Savers, which is filled with 12 recipes that are easy to make, kids love them, and they're all freezable.
Okay.
If you know there's always a meal in the freezer, if you have a day that goes awry, you know you've got something for supper that is going to be good for your kids. So even if your kids want to eat leftovers for breakfast, that's better than eating a high-carb something that doesn't have enough fiber, that doesn't have enough fluid. And remember flora. The probiotics are very important because your gut health is very linked to brain health.
That's it.
That's where all your happiness hormones come from. Your serotonin, 95% of your happiness hormones are found in the gut, and 70% of your immune system comes from your gut.
Brilliant.
So let's teach our kids to eat well.
Let's do that. Where can people get hold of that ebook? Just very quickly.
On nikkibush.com.
Easy like that. nikkibush.com is where it's at. So make a conscious effort to prepare your meals and make sure that your children eat the right foods.